Russia state media has claimed that Russian authorities have granted asylum to ousted Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and his family on humanitarian grounds. The family arrived in Moscow after fleeing Damascus. Assad left the Syrian capital of Damascus after his government fell, following a lightning offensive by the anti-regime forces across the country, bringing his 24-year rule to an end. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi expressed surprise that the Syrian army could not counter the rebel attack that led to President Bashar al-Assad's overthrow. Speaking to local media, Araghchi stated that Iran was aware of all that is happening inside Syria, but were never asked for help in what he considered an internal Syrian issue. Syrian rebels seized the capital Damascus unopposed on Sunday after a lightning offensive that sent al-Assad fleeing to Russia after 13-year civil war and 6 decades of his family's autocratic rule. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has revealed the devastating human cost of the ongoing conflict with Russia, reporting that 43,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed and approximately 370,000 wounded in nearly 3 years of war. Zelensky noted that approximately half of the soldiers wounded in action later returned to the battlefield. This was the first time in 3 months that casualty figures were shared by President Zelensky. For the 11th consecutive day, thousands of pro-European demonstrators flooded the streets of Georgia's capital, Tbilisi, to denounce the government's decision to suspend European Union accession talks. The demonstrations, which have been peaceful but resolute, are a response to the Prime Minister's announcement that Georgia would put its EU membership bid on hold. Demonstrators are demanding that the government reverse this decision and restart the accession talks. The European Union has expressed concern over the situation right now, with EU Foreign Policy Chief warning Georgian authorities against using violence against peaceful demonstrators. South Korea's opposition is up in arms, accusing the ruling party of orchestrating a second coup by refusing to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol over his declaration of martial law. The declaration, which was made earlier this week, has sparked widespread outrage and condemnation from opposition parties, civil society groups, and human rights organizations that claim the president's actions are unlawful and unconstitutional, amounting to a second insurrection and coup. South Korea Special Forces Commander Colonel Kim Hyun-tae revealed on Monday that he was instructed to block lawmakers from entering the parliament chamber to prevent a vote on lifting the martial law declaration. Kim, who led the 707th Special Missions Group, took full responsibility for the raid, but emphasized that he was acting under orders from the defense minister. This comes after President Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law on December 3rd, only to rescind it hours later when Parliament defied the security cordon and voted to invalidate the declaration. Yoon survived an impeachment vote on December 7th, but the country remains in a state of constitutional crisis. Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris held its first public mass on Sunday evening, marking a major milestone in its restoration after the devastating fire in 2019. The highly anticipated event was attended by hundreds of faithful who secured reservations. The public mass followed a morning ceremony attended by French President Emmanuel Macron, Archbishop Laurent Ulrich and other dignitaries. Australia is establishing a federal police task force to tackle threats, violence and hatred towards the Jewish community and parliamentarians. The move comes after a recent arson attack on a Melbourne synagogue and increasing concerns about anti-Semitic incidents. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese emphasized that anti-Semitism is a major threat that requires a strong response. The task force will comprise federal police deployed across the country as needed. Australia and Nauru have signed a landmark treaty under which Australia will give $89 million in budget and security support to the Pacific Island country over the next 5 years. According to Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, the treaty will elevate the ties between the two countries and ensure that people in Nauru have access to important banking services, strengthening the island nation's economy. The treaty also includes a budget support package to upgrade Nauru's policing and security capabilities, benefiting the broader Pacific region. Nauru's president has welcomed the treaty, saying it further strengthens the deep friendship between Nauru and Australia. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has reaffirmed the importance of the United States-Mexico-Canada trade agreement known as USMCA as an important tool for Mexico's economic growth and competitiveness. Speaking in Nuevo Laredo, a city in the Mexico-US border, Sheinbaum emphasized that the USMCA is crucial for Mexico to successfully compete with China in the global economy. Her comments come as US President-elect Donald Trump threatens to impose 25% tariffs on Mexican imports unless the country takes action to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal migrants into the US. Tongan Prime Minister has stepped down in a surprise move amidst a power struggle with the Pacific nation's royal family. Sovalene's resignation came just hours before no confidence vote was scheduled to take place in Parliament. In an emotional address to Parliament, Sovalene announced his immediate resignation, citing compliance with the Constitution. His resignation comes less than a year before a national election in Tonga. His resignation also highlights the occasional tensions between Tonga's monarchy and elected lawmakers in a still young democracy after reforms that transferred powers from the royal family and nobles to regular citizens in 2010. Supporters of Ghana's opposition National Democratic Congress Party erupted in celebration on Sunday as ruling New Patriotic Party conceded defeat in the presidential election. Mahamudu Bavuma, the NPP's contestant and outgoing vice president, announced on live television that his party's own tally showed a clear victory for NDC contestant John Dramani Mahama. The concession marks a major shift in Ghana's political landscape, with Mahama poised to return to the presidency after being voted out in 2016. The NPP's defeat comes amid widespread discontent with the country's economic crisis. Delhi is bracing for a major drop in temperatures, with the mercury expected to plummet by around 3 degrees Celsius starting December 10th, according to India's weather department. The capital experienced its coldest day of the season on Sunday, with rain intensifying the winter chill. Rains across Delhi NCR made the weather noticeably colder, setting the stage for more chilly days ahead, while air quality in the national capital remains in the poor category. South Korean stocks and the won saw sharp declines following political instability. The Kospi index dropped 2.3% and the won weakened towards its lowest level since 2009. Investors are wary of prolonged uncertainty after an impeachment motion against President Yoon Suk-yeol failed, and his leadership remains under intense pressure. The country faces a potential constitutional crisis and concerns about its ability to handle global trade and also challenges amid an uncertain leadership transition. Despite efforts to stabilize the market, investor sentiment remains fragile as political risks mount. Japan's economy rose faster than initially reported in the July-September quarter. GDP expanded by an annualized 1.2%, up from the initial 0.9% estimate. The upward revision was driven by better-than-expected capital investment and exports. However, weaker private consumption, which accounts for over half of Japan's economy, underscores the fragility of the recovery. This mixed data keeps alive the possibility of a Bank of Japan interest rate hike in December, though it is not guaranteed. Experts remain divided as central bank's policy decision on December 18th and 19th will depend on balancing these growth signals against consumption concerns. Gold prices climbed near $2,650 an ounce after China's central bank resumed bullion purchases for the first time in 7 months. The People's Bank of China added about 5 tons in November, signaling continued efforts to diversify reserves and also protect against currency risks. While the addition is smaller than past purchases, geopolitical instability, particularly the fall of Syria's Assad regime, also supported gold's appeal as a safe haven asset. The market's reaction remained moderate, given expectations that China's pause in buying was temporary. Meanwhile, concerns over potential Islamic extremism resurgence add to the uncertainty. Inflation rose slightly as West Asia tensions surged following the overthrow of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Despite this geopolitical instability, concerns over weak Chinese demand weighed on the market. Saudi Aramco lowered January 2025 prices for Asian buyers to the lowest since 2021, reflecting sluggish demand. OPEC Plus extended production cuts to the end of 2026, delaying output hikes due to supply surplus fears. Meanwhile, U.S. rig accounts rose, signaling increased production and adding to market uncertainty over future of oil prices. U.S. Senators Marsha Blackburn and Richard Blumenthal announced updates to the Kids Online Safety Act with help from ex-CEO Linda Yaccarino. The changes aim to protect kids online while ensuring free speech is not restricted. The revised bill narrows its focus to specific harms like compulsive social media use. Supporters are pushing for it to pass before the year ends. TikTok Shop, the e-commerce platform launched in the US in September, has seen a major surge in sales this holiday season. According to data given by factious consumers have spent heavily on a range of goods, including some of high-range cosmetics and kitchen appliances. On Black Friday alone, TikTok shop hit $100 million in sales. However, the platform faces a potential ban as Federal Appeals Court recently upheld a law requiring its Chinese parent company ByteDance to divest TikTok in the US by early next year.